Well, hey, welcome back. So here I am at long last upon my new BSA Gold Star 650. Yes, and one or two of you guessed correctly, but not that many. I think 3 or 4 maximum. Guess what it would be? The vast majority thought that it would be, understandably, the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. Yes, indeed, the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. And of course, I completely understand why people would have come to that conclusion. But no, it's this here Gold Star 650, and I'm about to tell you why. Aye, so, oh, look at that sneaky speed van there on the old A59. Hey. That's cheating, hiding down there, pal. Aye, so yeah, and there were other guesses as well. Hey, including, if you saw on that last video, Silver Fox, Mr. Silver Fox Travels, daring to suggest that it might be a yellow monkey bike. Hey, not a chance. No. And 1 or 2 sort of left field suggestions as well. But by far the majority of people thought that it would be the Guerrilla 450. Some people thought a new Himalayan, and 1 or 2 others. And it very nearly could have been the new Guerrilla, but for a very particular reason. And if you stick around, I'm gonna sort of talk you through the specifics even of that. But anyway, yes, there was a winner, and he's been in touch, Mr. Hobnob. That's his handle, Hobnob. And a little token of my appreciation will be on its way to you soon, because you were straight in there with the right answer. And as I've said, the clues are all there if you go far enough back. Aye. So let's have a little picturesque ride, and I'll talk you through exactly why this was the choice, what I love about this bike, and how I expect it to dovetail seamlessly into the channel portfolio of motorcycles. Aye, so, hey, why this bike? Well, the answer to that question is precisely because of how it's making me feel now. So the straight answer to the question, why have you got the BSA Gold Star 650 rather than the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450? The answer is because of how it's making me feel right now. And the way that it's making me feel is the way that I anticipated that it would make me feel. Bearing in mind I have ridden this bike before. Have a look back about 11 months and you'll see there are a couple of videos about this bike, one of which is a full review. And if you had watched 2 or 3 videos back when I was out on Norman, the Classic 350, I talked a little bit about this. It's a video that's entitled Royal Enfield Classic 350 and my biggest mistake ever. The mistake obviously being nothing to do with the bike, to do with the story surrounding my old man. And and my old man is the reason I've got this bike, because my dad, who's been dead 25 years, but my dad, of course, of whom I have very, very fond memories, he had, in his motorcycling days, a BSA Gold Star 650. Oh yes, not this particular model obviously, but he did have a BSA Gold Star, not a BSA Gold Star 650, but he had a BSA Gold Star, whatever size engine it might have been, I'm not entirely sure, but he did have one, because I remember him waxing lyrical about it when I were a nipper. So the reason is this bike makes me feel like the Classic 350 makes me feel, which is more directly connected to that history and that legacy, which always gives me a great deal of comfort in later life. And you can't put a price on that, and that's something with the best will in the world that the Gorilla, for all its excellence, couldn't do for me. And don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant bike. I absolutely loved that bike when I took it out, the Gorilla, and it were a fairly close call. I'd have been more than happy to get one. Wouldn't have been difficult. But I did a bit of soul searching, and we have to do a bit of soul searching when we're making decisions like this, don't we? And we have to think about what the bike's for, why we want the bike, and in the case of having several bikes and running a YouTube channel, what part the bike will play, because I've said from the outset, this is a channel bike. So having gone through all of those thought processes for some considerable time, a few weeks ago I just arrived at the conclusion that, number one, the greatest pleasure that I derive from motorcycling, and therefore the best content that I'm able to deliver on the back of that sort of riding experience, basically describes where I want to be with this bike, describes the overall riding experience. And it is one steeped in nostalgia, of course it is, and I make no apologies about that whatsoever. But if you want a sort of time machine experience to be able to get as close as you possibly can in modern times to those fantastic days, and they were fantastic days for the most part, of British motorcycling in the 50s and 60s, there are very few bikes that will do it with consummate ease. And personally, I think there are only two as it stands, and that's the Royal Enfield Classic 350 and this, the BSA Gold Star 650. Mainly because of the styling and design, which is in both cases unashamedly a tribute act. But both bikes being British designed, which is fantastic. And combined with the fact they are both single cylinder engines, and it's about, I don't like to use that word character, because every other bugger and his wife on YouTube talks about character when they're talking about the likes of singles and parallel twins and V-twins and what have you. Character. I think a better word is personality. So to my mind, bikes like these, the Classic 350 and the BSA 650, they have a personality, and they just feel more like an animal companion or another human companion than a piece of mechanical engineering. And that makes no empirical, logical sense whatsoever. It's a purely emotional response, but it's a good one, and that is what matters in life. If it makes you feel good, the rest is irrelevant. The power's irrelevant, the top speed's irrelevant, the consumption's irrelevant. All of those things that tend to preoccupy the minds of the collective motorcycle press, all those issues are utterly subordinate to how the bike makes you feel. Because if the bike makes you feel good, for whatever reason, there is no other justification required, either on an individual basis or a comparative basis. And it's that thought process which has steered me towards getting this bike. Now, it's a cracking looking bike as well. Like I say, I think this and the Classic 350, best looking modern classic motorcycles on the market at the moment, and I include the new Classic 650, which to me looks like a bit of an ugly duckling, really. That's probably been a little bit cruel, but there's certain aspects of the bike, when I look at it closely, it look like a bit of an afterthought. A bit like taking a tried and trusted platform in the guise of that 650cc parallel twin engine and dressing it up differently and expecting it to suddenly acquire an identity all its own. And I'm not sure it's quite nailed it, but we'll see. I might have a different opinion as and when I get to see one in the flesh and ride one. But to me, it's this and the Classic 350, and I've done it again. Naughty boy, you're leaving your indicator on. Oh, slap it, wristy. I'm a bugger for it. Fortunately, there's hardly any side roads on this road. Aye. So, yeah. So that's the Rash on Owl. Now, talking about this bike. So, where did it come from? Right, I bought this bike from Cobham Jagger in Shipley. Anybody local will know about Cobham Jagger, and been a very, very positive experience there, I have to say. So shout out to Cobham Jagger. I got it at a very, very good price, well under £5,000, well under, and they've actually fitted the engine bars for me, and therein lies a tale as well. these here engine dresser bars, as they call them on this bike. We'll see when we have a look around. But those of you that are in the know will know that one of the first things I like to get on a bike before I ride it any sort of distance is crash bars, engine bars. I'm a little bit paranoid about it. And before I went to collect the bike from Cobb and Jagger, I was just having a look around the internet, and I looked on the BSA website, and these bars priced at £130 no longer available, out of stock. And I couldn't find any anywhere, and then I dropped on one set that were available from a company on eBay, and again they were up for £130, but it said make an offer, open to offers, make an offer. So I made an offer of 115 quid, thinking I'm not going to get any of these bars anywhere else. And having done that, off I toddled to Cobb and Jagger to pick this beauty up. So when I get to the Cobb and Jagger and I'm filling in all the paperwork, and we're sort of having a little chat about how I might accessorise this bike and the fact that I might put some 50-50 tyres on it, salesman Tom, shout out for Tom at Cobb and Jagger, sort of having a discussion around engine bars when I said, well, that'll be the first thing. And I put this offer in on eBay, but I've not had a response yet. And he says, well, we've probably got some in stock. So I said, what do you mean, here? He said, yeah, here, right here in this building. We might have a set of engine bars. So I thought, that's bloody typical, isn't it? So anyway, I did a check, and sure as sure, they've got a set of engine bars in stock. So I'm thinking, bloody hell. Talk about acting haste and repent at leisure, putting an offer in, because when you put an offer in now on eBay, it takes your payment details, and if the offer's accepted, that's it, you're committed and the money flies out of your account. So I quickly went onto eBay to see if there's been a response, and sure enough, offer declined. Hey! So I'd offered 115 quid. They were up for 130 quid, offer declined. So I said to them at Cobb and Jagger, well, how much then? And they said, tell you what, if you take them now, we'll fit them for you, 115 quid. How's that then? So instead of 130 quid, plus a bit of postage, plus having to fit them myself and all that palaver, 115 quid fitted, genuine BSA dresser bars. Cracking. So they've been on from the get-go. So yeah, I love the way this bike makes me feel. Love this single cylinder 650cc, 45 brake horsepower, 50 newton meters of torque bike. In the mid-range, in the usable range of power, is faster than the Royal Enfield Interceptor, and definitely faster than the Super Meteor, and I've owned both those bikes. It's a more responsive engine in the mid-range. It develops its power earlier, which is perfect for the sort of riding that I enjoy. It's a 5-speed box, not a 6, but that's more than enough. And it's just really, really urgent, tractable and willing, this engine. Cracking. And once the revs are up, smooth as you like, it just purrs along. Really, really comfortable riding position. Comfortable seat, bit firm but comfortable still. And I feel like I could just ride this bike all day in perfect comfort. It's got its quirks, like the old style clocks that start at the 1 or 2 o'clock position rather than at the 7 o'clock position. Some people refer to these clocks as reverse sweep. Well, they're not. They go clockwise like any other clock. Just they start at a different position, so they're not reverse sweep. But I like that. Got a fuel gauge going on, and Common Jagger sold me this bike with a full fuel tank. Full tank of fuel. God bless you. What a cracker. But I'm going to look at swapping the tyres out for some 50/50s, and I know there aren't many options available for this bike, but there are some. So if anybody out there knows some good 50/50 tyre options for this here bike, I'd be delighted to hear about it. But it's just a bit of a, you know, it's an 18-inch front wheel, 17-inch rear. I don't think there are many problems getting the rear, but the front might be a bit of a challenge getting a matching pair. So if anybody out there knows, please let me know. I just love the sound of that big single. I know there's some folk bellyache about some of the aesthetics of the bike. I mean, it is a liquid cooled engine, and there is a radiator up front, obviously, and you know, some people play hell about that. I don't get it at all. You know, if that's what it takes for BSA to get to market with a beautiful modern classic motorcycle like this, then well and good. But the bike's got to comply with the Euro requirements and what have you, and I suspect that's why it's liquid cooled. And if so, as far as I'm concerned, if that's what they need to do to get this bike to market, well and good. Don't bother me in the slightest. To me, that's just it's a purist approach. It's too much of a purist approach, and to indict a design simply because of preconceived ideas about whether an engine should be in a particular format, I just think is a step too far. It's too much of a focus on one particular aspect of the bike. And the other thing that folk bellyache about is this here USB-C and USB socket up here. Bloody useful, that. Very useful for your sat-nav or your phone charging or whatever. Camera charging, you know. If I'm worried about battery life, I can just plug into there from the GoPro and I'm fine all day long. Not a problem for me. How anybody can embark upon a critique of this bike based upon that little thing there, I don't know. But if you were that narked about it, you'd just bloody reposition it, wouldn't you? Piece of piss. So no, that don't bother me. Yeah, so this is the new bike for the channel. This is the 4th bike for the channel, and I look forward to many happy days, even though we are well into autumn, out and about in the beautiful Yorkshire Dales and possibly elsewhere, riding this here bike and feeling right gradely about the whole experience. Right, well that was a very serendipitous and pleasant encounter there at Pateley Bridge. So great to meet one of my subscribers, Tony. Great to meet you, Tony. And I think he's going to be getting a CF Moto 800 MT. And his pal Chris. And we're just sharing some tales of doing do back in the day in Bradford. Because I'm a Bradford lad originally. And so are they. Excellent. And then a couple of other subscribers met there in the car park. But anyway, yeah, big shout out Tony and Chris, and thanks for the coffee, I appreciate it, gentlemen. And also a chap approached me and asked me about this BSA. Tell you what, it doesn't have turn heads, this bike. Bayek, already haven't been out on it 2 minutes, turning heads left, right and centre. Yeah, and this gentleman, again, formerly of Bradford, now living in Virginia in the United States, came over to talk to me about this bike. And that's what these bikes do, they attract attention. And people see the BSA badge and this lovely dark green colour scheme, the Highland green. Would you believe this is the entry-level colour scheme? All the other colour schemes are more premium, a bit more expensive, and I just think this is the best by a country mile. It's beautiful. But it certainly attracts attention, it gets people coming up to you and chatting to you in a way which, you know, if you'd parked up your BMW GS, won't be remotely interested. That's the difference. So yeah, that's the other great thing about these bikes is they get you talking to people. So yeah, absolutely loving this here machine. And what I'm just going to do now is we'll have a ride up here. There's a bit of a lay-by that I know, and we'll do a quick walk around. And I'll just show you, hey, what a good looking bike this is. Then, tell me that ain't a cracking looking bike. Just look at that. BSA Gold Star 650 in Highland green. What a beautiful looking bike. The more I look at these BSAs, the better looking I think they get. And in terms of being absolutely faithful to the heritage of both the classic British bike design and the legacy, which is the classic British bike names, Royal Enfield, BSA, Triumph, Norton, etc. I think this is about as genuine and honest and faithful as it gets, because that just shouts out to me the spirit of 1950s, 1960s British motorcycling. Just look at the lines. I mean, British designed still, and hats off to the design team for coming up with something so very special indeed. Yeah, if ever there was a bike that you would buy with your heart rather than your head, I think it would be this. the looks of the bike make me feel a certain way, and then riding the bike just adds to that first impression in a very, very positive way indeed. So basically, yeah, for what it's worth, single cylinder engine, liquid cooled, Rotax engine, established mark, 45 brake horsepower, so it is A2 compliant, and 50 newton meters of torque at 4,000 RPM. This bike in the mid-range, sort of 4,000-5,000 RPM range, it's got more pulling power than the Interceptor or the Super Meteor, let me tell you. 213 kilograms wet weight, so not a lightweight but not particularly a heavy weight. Super Meteor's 241 kilograms, so there's a comparison for you. But this engine definitely more urgent, more willing in the mid-range than the Royal Enfield Parallel Twin, which delivers its peak power at higher revs. So this suits perfectly my riding style. Yeah, cracking engine, and just look at it. So why did I get this green one rather than the Legacy? You know, a couple of reasons why I didn't get the top of the range Legacy one. One is I don't like silver bikes, or silver cars for that matter. Don't ask me why, I just don't. And the other reason is that between this, the entry-level bike, and the Legacy bike, all the other colourways have a stripe going right across here. So there's a stripe on the mudguard, down the tank and down the back, on the red one, on the black one and the silver one. And that's not for me. I just think it spoils the bike completely. So this this solid Highland green colour, perfect for me. The chrome is excellent. There were some issues with the BSA chrome finish on the very, very early bikes, but let me tell you, it's absolutely flawless on this here new 2024 bike. So yeah, that's the reason for this and not any of the other colourways. Also, the Legacy edition's got a lot of chrome and polish going on, so the engine casings on that are polished, and there's chrome and chrome mudguards here and there. Not for me. I'm a bit tired of polishing. The limit of my polishing is my classic 350s engine casings, which I have to do regularly. But nothing like as much of that going on here, I'm pleased to say. So yeah, that's the rationale behind that. But otherwise, what you see is what you get here. 12 litre fuel tank, probably good for 175 miles, something like that. On the safe side, 150. It's got a fuel gauge. It's got a trip meter and a rev counter, and that's about your lot basically. Oh, and a side stand down indicator. Got a Brembo brake at front. Pretty good brake that, plenty of bite on that there single disc. Spoked wheels, tube tyres, you know. What else is there to say? Very little indeed, other than the whole is unquestionably, unquestionably, what did you put in my coffee, guys? Unquestionably, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. So yeah, look at that, eh? Right, so thanks for watching. If you've watched this far, been an absolute cracking maiden voyage out here on this beautiful BSA Gold Star 650, my latest and fourth bike to the Bingley Wheeler channel, and I'm looking forward to many future adventures on this and the other bikes, of course. So it only remains for me to say until the next time, and in the meantime, ride safe, be kind, and I'll see thee